Weekly on the Grueling Truth Sports Network. I'm your host for Inside Boxing Weekly, Mike Goodpaster. Right now, I'd like to welcome in my co-host, author of multiple boxing books. One, we will have him on with his author next next Wednesday, John. A few more rounds. John Raspanti. How you doing, John?
Doing great, Mike. Pleasure to be on with you as always, and thank you for the plug. Yeah, it's going to be fun talking about a few more rounds with Jerry. And what a pleasure that was to write.
Yeah, and it's a great book. I've actually almost finished it. So that's why we're doing it next Wednesday. It's taken me like 4 months to finish the book, but it's a little crazy this time of year for me.
800-page epic, right?
Yeah, it is an epic. It's a great book. And the great thing about it is it's chapters where you and Jerry go through different things that happen, like Jerry and his relationship with Tony Zale. So really it's a book where you can read a chapter, put it down, come back to it. You don't have to remember where you were, which is really a good thing for somebody as old as myself.
Well, yeah, that's true, and yeah, it was the idea behind it was the differences, because he won't mind me saying this, Jerry's a little older than I am, so his life and his boxing life are different. So that's what makes it fun. Is he had his experiences, and then years later I had mine. So it's a fun book.
All right, I want to bring up also that we are brought to you by betting.net. So if you want to bet the fight this week between Joshua and Usyk, go to betting.net. And the great thing about betting.net is when you go on it, it'll tell you where certain places are legal to bet, which sites. Like with mine, when I pull it up, it'll say Indiana. You can bet on this site, whether it's William Hill, BetMGM. There's a bunch of them there that'll guide you and give you a recommendation on the best place to bet the fight. Now, finally, we have a fight worth watching. And Usyk and Joshua to me is very interesting. And I think, number one, when people sit there and say Usyk's not big enough, Usyk is like 6'3", 225 pounds for this fight. It's not like he's a little guy. It's not like Chris Bird trying to fight one of the Klitschko's. I mean, I think people really underrate the size of Usyk here.
Absolutely. And I saw a film of him, and he looks bulked. Not exactly. I mean, he's bulked up in weight, but he looks like he's in great shape.
And how do you take Joshua, though, cutting weight for this fight?
I read that. I saw a picture of him, and that's surprising. I guess he's concerned about speed. But see, I was thinking that going into advantage for him is his bulk. That would be best suited for him, because look what Chisora did to Usyk. Chisora chased Usyk around, and he had him. If he was a better fighter, he'd have probably knocked him out. So I thought that Joshua would see that and go, well, I think I'll catch him eventually, because Usyk can be hit, as we know, and he likes to fight. He doesn't, as we like to say nowadays, he doesn't run. He moves, but he stops and fights. So I was really surprised. So he must be concerned that Usyk is too elusive. And I think that gives away a little bit of an advantage that he has, that his strength, and that. But I think he's concerned, obviously, with Usyk's boxing ability. If he gets into a boxing match with Usyk, that's not his fight, I don't think.
Yeah, and I think him cutting weight tells us that's what he expects. And I think with Anthony Joshua, what we need to see is, I guess Andy Ruiz, ever since he got knocked out, when he fights, he seems to be hesitant to mix it up. But to me, fighting Usyk, I mean, it looks like you would want to kind of go after Usyk. I don't know that he has what's the best word for it, the gumption to actually do something like that.
Yeah, exactly. He does and he doesn't. I think if he feels the power and doesn't feel much of it. But see, the key is for Usyk too. He uses angles. He's kind of a bigger Lomachenko in a sense, trained by Lomachenko's daddy. I'm not sure about this fight, but he has been. And if he can catch Joshua coming in like Ruiz did, he didn't really catch him in. It was more of a counter shot. But then we don't know what's going to happen. And I don't think Joshua knows. I think that, just being a little amateur psychobabble here, I think that knockout is still there for Joshua, and he's concerned about some of the intangibles. So that, that's kind of different. I mean, I remember I read somewhere Joe Louis, when he got knocked out by Max Schmeling, someone said, "Did you ever think of that knockout?" And he said, "Never." there you go.
Yeah, and this is what I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you this is 8 years ago, so we'll take that with what it is. But this is Joe Joyce against Alexander Usyk. It was like the Fight League or something. I forget what it was, but a World Series of Boxing. I figured that out because it says World Series of Boxing on the ring, so I can figure things out. But when you watch this, the thing that strikes me is the way he fights him. It is almost Michael Spinks esque by the way he fought Larry Holmes. You there, John?
Yeah, exactly. And actually, I've never seen Joe Joyce this aggressive. This is quite an experience. I've never seen this. And Joyce's head is always up to be clipped. I've noticed that in his pro fights, but he's really aggressive here against Usyk. And you know, Usyk is there, but then he's not. He's got a lot of boxing ability.
Yeah, and the thing about Usyk is
Wow.
we didn't see him fight like this against guys like Chisora or even Gassiev and guys like that. It seemed like he has been a little. But the thing that strikes me here is I think Usyk has been gunning for this fight for a few years, and it's almost like Evander Holyfield and Mike Tyson the first time, where you get a guy. We lost you there, John, on your phone, but you get a guy like Jar that's as good as what Holyfield was. Usyk is a guy who won an Olympic gold medal, and with that Olympic gold medal, a long amateur career, I think it's safe to say that skill wise, he's I think a lot better than Joshua. And I think this movement, the way he moves his head here, the way he's not afraid to come in and throw punches, I think if he fights this way, he's going to give Joshua a lot of trouble.
You know, the key, Mike, I think, can you take it when Joshua hits him with a big right hand? If he just looks at him, then that could really be a problem for Joshua because you know he's got this what here. He's a good counter puncher. He can be real aggressive. I mean, he's not going to be freaked out fighting. I mean, the guy's a road warrior. He never fights in his own hometown. He goes to another guy's backyard and fights. Got to love that about him. I mean, he's the ultimate. I'll fight you wherever you want to fight me. And we know that Joshua has laws that Usyk might be able to utilize him, even though all just talked about a betting side. He was a 2.5 to 1. I'm speaking of Joshua favorite last I checked. So it's because of the size. I know that's what it is. As we just saw from this video, Usyk is a heck of a boxer, and I just find it fascinating that Joshua is really thinking maybe he's going to box with Usyk. I'm really kind of stunned. I mean, it might work out for him, but they're going against conventional wisdom here with what he's got. You know, I think you usually play to your strengths, and I think one of his weaknesses is that he's an okay boxer, but Usyk's a better boxer. So counter that with your own strength. I don't know. It's really interesting. What's his mindset going in? You know.
Yeah, and you talk about the betting. The thing that's interesting is right now, I think if you bet Usyk, it's plus 225. If you're going to bet Joshua, it's minus 275. But right now, over the last few weeks, despite being the underdog, Usyk is now getting 63% of the public bets. And I see a lot of guys from England, Great Britain, that are basically picking Usyk to win this fight.
Yeah. The betting is well, I don't know what that is. Oh, there we go. The betting
Hey, you got full screen.
I don't know if I want the betting is interesting because Joshua has been the big time favorite. I think promoters are notorious worriers anyway, and I think Eddie Hearn gives it away sometimes about how he feels about Joshua because he says things that makes you wonder. I mean, he knows he's the champ. He gets all that, but he also knows that he has weaknesses, and he's camper when it was Joshua had to fight Usyk. So Eddie's hardly a dummy. It's true. There you go. So I think he's concerned. I think he's more than concerned. I think he's worried. That sentence I hate. So, but then again, Usyk is live in this fight, and he looks primed. He looks ready. I watched him a few times. He was juggling while he was with the media. I mean, he's a character, but he's confident and certainly known by the moment.
Yeah, and when you look at the odds, I mean, the plus 225 for Usyk is going to be hard to pass up. I know you had a fight like this, a month or so ago of Manny Pacquiao against Ugas, where you actually hit it because of the odds like this. It makes it a good value pick because if you bet 100, you win 225, but you got to bet 275 on Joshua just to win 100 back.
Exactly, and I'm not a big gambler. I can on this show, I'm seriously thinking about it, and likely will put money on Usyk. Not because I'm convinced Usyk will win, because if Joshua catches him, he might knock him out in 3 rounds. Very possible. But if the fight goes later and Joshua has stamina issues and Usyk's doing real well and his confidence is growing, it's going to be a problem. So
yeah,
the first 5 rounds are going to be who's doing well. I expect to get off to a bit of a lead. I've seen Usyk before, Mike, in a number of fights, and he tends to come back in fights. He's losing. It looks like this guy doing very well, but as the fight goes on, he does better. So deals with Joshua power, like I said. If he can handle the power, it's going to be very interesting.
And I think that people will be surprised. I think he's going to be able to handle the power. You watch him handle Joe Joyce's there. Shizora's a big puncher, maybe not as big as Joshua, but I think Joshua, just by losing the weight, I think is trying to prepare to go a long time in this fight. And I don't think that is the way that Joshua can win this fight. I mean, I think he is playing into Usyk's hands here.
Yeah, I all of that, but what I heard about you said about Joshua, he's not a one punch guy. He needs more punches to knock people out. But Usyk's had heavyweight. He fought Chisora, and see the danger we do in boxing. This happens a lot. Is we tend to look at the last fight the guy had and go, well, he's going to struggle with Chisora. How Joshua, and we get caught up. Was Oscar hadn't looked all that good. Burchell was blowing out, and what happens when they fight? Valdez knocks him out. So that if Usyk knows this is his greatest legacy that he wants to be in his prime. He'll be in his prime shape because he's no, and and if Joshua equal with whatever advantage Joshua Usyk with the quicker hands could definitely do some.
So, John, when we get down to this, I know that you're considering betting Usyk. Is that more because of the odds on the fight, or do you think Usyk wins this fight? What's your prediction?
Boy, that's tough. I mean, I want to go out on a limb and say Usyk's going to win. I do, and I don't want to be with myself there for a second. Likely wishy-washy. Joshua will probably win. But then again, I think so. I see it going 2 ways. It's funny, Mike. Knockout either way. I do a stoppage either. Probably win a decision over Josh. maybe he gets, but I would give it was if you made me break it down into percent, it's going to win 48. So I give again about it on Saturday. I won't be like shocked. It's like
Yeah, I think
I went
this.
out and predicted
I think
would win on a show, and I was right. That different. This is
all right. I'm going to tell you this. I'm going to go out on a limb because I think Alexander Usyk will stop Anthony Joshua in the 10th round.
I didn't catch that. Say that again.
I like Usyk by knockout or stoppage in the 10th round. So I'll tell you what I'm going to bet is I'm going to bet Usyk to win the fight, and I'm going to bet him to win it by knockout. You parlay that, you're going to get big time odds too.
Okay.
I'm here. You're cutting out really bad.
Yeah, no. Definitely could happen. I mean, not really bad.
Yeah, you're cutting out really bad.
Okay.
You there? Okay, I want to remind everybody while we're doing this, go check out our sponsor, betting.net, if you want to bet the fight. Best place to go to pick out where you're going to bet it. But like I said, again, if you're going to go value, I would go with Usyk, the plus 225. We'll see if John's got this figured out. John, you back? I can hear you, but you're very faint. Yeah, so we'll just finish it like this. So, Joshua or Usyk? Yeah, I agree, and I think Usyk stops him. I think he stops him in the 10th round. I think Joshua is going to be tentative, and I think Usyk. The thing about Usyk is when I watch him against Joyce, or I watch him against heavyweights like Chisora, him just fainting makes that ever bigger heavyweight that has issues going deeper. It makes them burn up energy. So even if he's not attacking him, just by feigning him and making Joshua respond to it will wear him down also. So I would go to betting.net, find the best place in the state I live or the country I live, and I would put my money on Usyk. I don't think that this is something like when I picked Tyson Fury to stop, Deontay Wilder in the 7th or 8th round. I made a lot of money off of that. I'm not as comfortable with this pick as I am with that because I do think you got the possibility that Joshua will come out and attack him. And if he does attack him, I think the chances of Joshua winning are much better. But I think from what we've seen from Joshua since he got knocked out by Andy Ruiz, I don't think you're going to see him attack anybody. And I don't think he's the same fighter as he was before the Ruiz fight. I think guys are different, especially guys who are used to knocking everybody out when they get knocked out. And I think that's what we've seen with Joshua. And I think it's going to come back to get him in this fight against Usyk. All right, John. Well, we got to get the volume straightened out and the cutting out straightened out because next Wednesday, Jerry Fitch and you will be on the show on the Grilling Truth Sports Network to talk about your book, A Few More Rounds. So I can't wait for that. I want to make sure everybody goes to betting.net if you want to bet this fight this weekend. John, do you have any final words? All right, John. So we are going to wrap it up. Make sure you check out all of our NFL content, the weekly NFL show, which was last night, the Cincinnati Bengals show I did with former Cincinnati Bengal Joe Kelly, which was last night also. Um, we will have another old time boxing show with Christopher Shelton coming up next Wednesday. I believe that's at 3:00 right after we do the show with you and Jerry Fitch. So make sure you check us out. You can find us anywhere you find podcasts, including iHeartRadio, Spotify, iTunes, over 300 different outlets. And make sure you check out betting.net. You can follow me at Grueling Truth. John, I know you basically run maxboxing.com. You want to tell everybody where they can find your work? All right, guys, we're going to wrap it up. We will see you next Wednesday on the Weekly Boxing Show, where we'll have Jerry Fitch and John Raspanti in to talk about their book, A Few More Rounds. But for now, for John Raspanti, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been watching and listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.